We will be singing Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Hari Jaya Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Jaya Rajajana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10th, chapter 19th, verse 8th to 16.
The first time you ever come to Bhagavatam. Just your presentation.
So, because we have so many verses, we will be just reading their translation one by one, and then we'll again recite prayers and start the discussion. Text 8. As the cows and cowherd boys stared at the forest fire attacking them on all sides, they became fearful. The boys then approached Krishna and Balram for shelter. Just as those who are disturbed by fear of death approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the boys addressed them as follows. Text 9. The cowherd boys said, "O Krishna, Krishna, most powerful one, O Rama, you whose prowess never fails, please save your devotees who are about to be burned by this forest fire and have come to take shelter of you." Text 10. Krishna, certainly your own friends shouldn't be destroyed. O knower of the nature of all things, we have accepted you as our Lord, and we are souls surrender unto you. Text 11. Shukadev Goswami said, hearing these pitiful words from his friends, the Supreme Lord Krishna told them, just close your eyes and do not be afraid. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This verse clearly reveals the simple, sublime relationship between Krishna and his pure devotees. The absolute truth, the Supreme Almighty Lord, is actually a young, blissful cowherd boy named Krishna. God is youthful and his mentality is playful. He saw that his beloved friends were terrified of the forest fire. He simply told them to close their eyes and not to be afraid. Then Lord Krishna acted as described in the next verse. Text 12. Translation. All right, the boys replied and immediately closed their eyes. Then the Supreme Lord, the master of all mystic powers, opened his mouth and swallowed the terrible fire, saving his friends from danger. Purport. The cowherd boys were suffering from extreme fatigue, hunger and thirst, and were about to be consumed by a horrible forest fire. All this is indicated here by the word Krichrat. Text 13, translation. The cowherd boys opened their eyes and were amazed to find not only that they and the cows had been saved from the terrible fire, but they had all been brought back to the Bhandira tree. Text 14, translation. Bhandira tree. Bhandira 1. When the cowherd boys saw that they had been saved from the forest fire by the Lord's mystic power, which is manifested by his internal potency, they began to think that Krishna must be a demigod. Purport. The cowherd boys of Vrindavan simply loved Krishna as their only friend and exclusive object of devotion. To increase their ecstasy, Krishna displayed to them his mystic potency and saved them from a terrible forest fire. The cowherd boys could never give up their ecstatic loving relationship with Krishna. Therefore, rather than considering Krishna to be God, after they saw his extraordinary power, they thought that perhaps he was a demigod. But since Lord Krishna was their beloved friend, they were on the same level with him. And thus they thought that they are also demigods. In this way, Krishna's cowherd friends became overwhelmed with ecstasy. Text 15. It was now late in the afternoon and Lord Krishna, accompanied by Balaram, turned the cows back towards home. Playing his flute in a special way, Krishna returned to the cowherd village in the company of his cowherd friends, who chanted his glories. Text 16, translation. The young gopis took the greatest pleasure in seeing Govinda come home, since for them, even a moment without his association seemed like 100 ages. Purport. After saving the cowherd boys from the blazing forest fire, Krishna saved the cowherd girls from the blazing fire of separation from him. The gopis headed by Srimati Radharani have the greatest love for Krishna, and even a single moment's separation from him seems like millions of years to them. The gopis are the greatest devotees of God, and their specific pastimes with Krishna will be described later in this word. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 19th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Swallowing the Forest Fire. So we will chant prayers. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Nitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So before I begin today's discussion, I would like to seek blessings from all the assembled devotees here at the Bhakti Center and all the assembled Vaishnavas from wherever they are joining online. So please bless me so that I can glorify Lord Shri Krishna. I can assist all of us in becoming closer to Shri Krishna. And may I be always loyal to His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So we are here in this chapter. First of all, this is one of the smallest chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam, may be the smallest or the second smallest. There is no chapter which has only 16 shlokas almost, maybe the one more. But so we are here in this small pastime, and it's very interesting actually here. What is interesting? That this whole thing, which started with Shobari Muni. So I know that most of you have been following where we have been, but just a quick recap that we saw that there was this sage who came to this place near Mathura. Mathura is a town in India, Mathura, and he saw this river Yamuna, and he goes down and he does austerities for thousands of years. And why I'm bringing us back to Shobari Muni, because I wanted us to focus on few points which are very important from the viewpoint of a sadhaka. So Shobari Muni goes down on the bed of the river, and he's doing his austerities, and many years are passing by, and he's doing whatever he wants to. He's a serious person for spiritual life. That's why he's there. So he is basically doing his sadhana, but there are three things. One, he thinks that he is great. He has a big ego, which we all have. We all have our egos. We all identify with a few things. So he thinks he's great. Second, he feels that there is no need for him of any association of devotees. So he's just there without any association of devotees. And then at the end, he takes a Vaishnava cheaply. So ultimately what happens, Shobari Muni is there, and then Garuda comes and they have that interaction, and he curses Garuda. That never ever, if you ever come here in this place, what will happen? You will die. So that's like an offense to Garuda. Garuda was just doing his own things. So Shobari Muni, out of false compassion, he was basically trying to meddle in the affairs of a pure devotee. Ultimately, we know the story of Shobari Muni. He comes out of the river. He has this desire that he wants to marry, and he marries 50 daughters of the local king of Mathura. And then he maintains the 50 wives with a lot of palaces. And then ultimately realizes, oh, I'm just wasting my life. My journey and mission was basically not to be a rich man. I was in the phase of my life where I wanted to focus on Krishna. So he again goes back, and his wives also say, my dear husband, you are going, we will also come with you. So that episode ends. But if you see as a sadhaka that we also have ego and we think that we are great, whatever we do, even if we are mopping the floor, we think that this is the right way of doing it. We see someone else mopping the floor, we think, Prabhu, don't do like this, like do like this. You know, that sense of greatness is there in us. So many times, because we are always with devotees, we might not take their association seriously. And also, we are not always guarding. Like that's why we recite in the morning every day the 10 offenses. And the first offense is offense towards devotees. But why it is the first one? It is the first one because it is our tendency to forget that and we commit offenses. When we do all these three things, you know what happens? Where we live, we basically invite envy to come. And whose envy? Envy is Kaliya. You know, poison, the color is green. Envy, we give the color green. And Kaliya comes there. And when Kaliya is there, when envy is there, then what happens? The next thing happens is a forest fire. And this forest fire is a fire of conflicts, which burns everything around. And this forest fire will only go away when, like the Brajvasis here, we say, Krishna, Krishna, save us. So Krishna has to be in the center and the forest fire goes away. So what I'm trying to basically say here is that all of us are like small bricks, like how Srila Prabhupada says. And then if you want to make a wall, if you want to make a building, if you want to make something nice, we need something to bind us together. Just with bricks, you can't do anything. You need the cement. And cement is something that sticks us together. So when we live in a community, what basically binds us is that we are bonded with each other on the basis of our mutual love towards Krishna. It's very important that we appreciate that whoever we are associating with on a day-to-day basis, whoever are the devotees of Krishna, that they have that love towards Krishna. And that love is basically binding us. So, okay, let's come back to the again, the sequence of events. So we are like Shobari. We have those three things. We have the ego. We don't consider the association of devotees seriously. We commit offenses. Then we invite envy into our heart. That is Kaliya. And then envy is deciding there. Then the forest fire basically manifests of conflicts, you know. And we can either choose to bring Krishna in the center and then be saved, or be consumed by the fire. And what is being consumed? Our spiritual life is being consumed. But if we go towards Krishna, what happens? Krishna brings us back to the Bhandira tree. So in the shlokas we were reading that when all these cowherd boys, they were surrounded by fire, they said, you know, Krishna, Krishna, please save us. And ultimately Krishna said, okay, close your eyes. And the forest fire was gone. And they were teleported to some other location. And which was that location? It is mentioned as Bhandira tree. So Bhandira tree here represents the initial state of the enjoyment of the Gopas. So if you see in this chapter, what was happening in the beginning, that Krishna and Balaram and all the other cowherd boys, his friends, they're enjoying. They're in each other's company. They're enjoying so much that they forget that they had the cows, and the cows basically go somewhere else, and the cows are lost. And then they become aware that, you know, we have to go home and where are the cows? And then they're looking for the cows, and cows are also in like out of helplessness are moving, seeking shelter of Krishna and the cowherd boys. And ultimately they find the cows, and then they find themselves surrounded by the fire because this is summertime. So if you see Bhagavatam, it is seasonal. We're talking about the summer pastimes of Krishna. And Krishna is again teleporting the cows and the cowherd boys back to Bhandiravan. And before that, we also read that the cowherd boys, friends of Krishna, they are tired, they're fatigued. And Krishna is so merciful. Not only is saving their life from the fire, but he's bringing them to their initial enjoyment, initial ecstasy. And what does this signify in the life of a Vaishnava? That if we sincerely seek shelter of Krishna, especially understanding that there are conflicts, especially understanding that there are obstacles on the path of our devotional service, if we sincerely take shelter of Krishna, we will feel satisfied. So much so that when someone comes to Krishna consciousness, the kind of ecstasy you feel, you can actually feel that ecstasy. The initial days. Like when some acharyas say, when someone comes initially, if they are chanting, they can actually chant at the level of namabhas, that they can chant offenselessly. So Krishna can help us go back to that stage and be in that stage, and then be like a siddha. But we have to basically seek shelter. So Krishna can bring us back to that original state. And now, after this whole thing happens, this is summer. Now, in the next chapter, what we'll see, the rainy season will come. So, if we are able to withstand the obstacles of life after the summer, the rainy season. So, rainy season basically signifies showers of mercy. Showers of mercy will come our way. That bliss of rain will be on our way. So, this is very, very important. So, we have to be always on a check that do we have the right spirit when we are practicing devotees, when we are doing sadhana? Not be like Shobari Muni, who had the wrong spirit. Because if you had the wrong spirit, you invite envy. You invite envy, then you have conflicts. Then either those conflicts consume your devotional service and you leave, or you basically go with Krishna and Krishna teleports you back to the original state where you were very happy. So what we need to do, whenever we get a negative thought in our mind, for a Vaishnava at least, we should try that we stop there. We should immediately stop. No, I don't want to think. I don't want to get into this. Everybody, I have anarthas, everybody else has anarthas. It doesn't make me something special that I am able to pinpoint the anarthas in other people. Unless and until I am given responsibility that I need to help others to overcome anarthas. So if we are not in that responsible position, we should basically try to stop there. Right? So if you see, acharyas say they have basically compared these negative thoughts to like robbers who enter a house which is dark. Nowadays, the robbers come in brightly lit homes as well. But generally, robbers will go to a place when they are sure that nobody is there in that place, right? When there is darkness. So what is that darkness? The darkness is ignorance. So we need the light of knowledge. We need the light of mercy of our Vaishnav friends, of our Guru. So if we have that, then robber will not enter. Then negative thoughts will not enter. It's very difficult that we cannot stop the negative thought. In order for us to stop the negative thought, what we need basically is a lot of strength. We need our batteries charged. So if you see the life of Ajamil, who was basically a good man, who was trained under his guru and who had the knowledge of the scriptures, he basically sees something which is disturbing to him. And then he keeps on meditating on those things. And those negative things are drawing him and his negative side. And he's trying to remember scriptures, but he's not able to. Why? Because his battery is down. So we need to have our batteries always up. We always need a constant recharge. We always need a constant connection. So reading regularly or coming to this Sangha in the morning or coming to the temple, rendering some service, hearing from Guru. This is basically what will help us to always feel constantly recharged. And just a principle which I always try to see that I'm feeling constantly recharged is I understand that when I feel recharged means I'm feeling happy and satisfied in my practice of devotional life. And sometimes then I analyze, and I call it like the swan principle, that I analyze my strengths, I'm aware, analyze my weaknesses, I am aware of the ambitions which I have, and I make sure that these ambitions are not going to come in the way of the swan means end, my needs of spiritual life. So always striking that right balance in this particular situation. Now coming back to the shlokas, there is also another thing which struck me, that the gopas or the cowherd boys, they are thinking that Krishna is a demigod, right? And this is basically a symbolic of our nature. Our nature is that whatever is extraordinary, we treat it as ordinary. And whatever is ordinary, we are fooled to take it as extraordinary. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's Sri Bhagavan. They have made him a demigod. Correct? So that is a downgrade. And they themselves are associates of Krishna, but you can say at least like partials. They've upgraded themselves as demigods. So there is an upgradation. They're thinking that they are demigods. Why? Because Krishna and they are equal. And Krishna will save them. So if Krishna can do it, we can do it because he's our friend. And this is a Maya potency happening in Vrindavan, which is a different subject. But basically just see that many times we feel that, oh, there are Vaishnavas here. We are the same age. Everything is the same. And we might feel, oh, because they can do it, I can do it. So their extraordinary nature becomes ordinary, while our ordinary nature becomes extraordinary. So again, what is happening here? The same thing that we feel that we are great. Shaubari Muni's understanding. So with that in mind, it is 7:44 a.m. And I would like to open us for comments, questions, discussions. Forgive me if I was too fast and somehow a week later I'm coming here and I'm again speaking on the forest fire. Last time I was speaking on the forest fire and this is the second forest fire which is here. So I was thinking that shall I focus on the fire? Shall I focus on the forest? Or shall I remind what I said? So I thought that I would take a different turn. So that's what I did. So this was my contemplation from the perspective of a sadhaka. Yes. Now let me see if someone is writing something. Or please go ahead. Please unmute yourself. Please speak up. We want to
Hare
hear.
Krishna, Karuna Nimai, Shmina Jaya. Thank you so much for class. As you were speaking, I was making so many parallels that I hope I can hold them all, but I was just, thank you for taking it all the way back to Subari Muni, where this all began, reminding us where it all began. And it's really making me think about the power of association. He lost track because he didn't have association. It was making drawing parallels to King Bharat. There he was, same thing, made this elevated place, and then without association, he fell down with, and it was making me think about how Krishna tells Arjuna, your misplaced compassion. They both sort of had the misplaced compassion at a certain point. And so it was just making those lovely parallels. And just as you were saying, again, a reminder to recharge our batteries, especially the battery of Sangha. Like Guru Day says, you always have to have times in your day, your week, your month, and your year to have that really intense Sangha to keep your batteries charged. So thank you so much. And I always love when you read, you put so much passion in when you're the cowherd boys. Help me, help me. I love your dramatic readings of the pastime. I could listen to them all day. So thank you, Karuna Nimai.
Thank you, Jamraj. Yes, I think Bhima Prabhu is here also. Bhima Prabhu wants to say something. Prabhuji, please enlighten us.
Enlighten. This would be that Prabhu, I am lightning through the fire that is you. Apparently, you've caught on fire, and every time you show up, you are burning away. I take particular specific focus of one thing you said that that could, remind us all day of the importance of the bond of love between the devotees, that no matter what's going on, Prabhupada said, of course, if you love me, you'll cooperate. And of course, we don't cooperate unless we realize what our mission is, and that is Krishna. And that cooperation in our mission towards Krishna, no matter what we may be doing. I mean, even within New York City, in a couple square miles, you have the Bhakti Center, which is one type of preaching method, and then you have Adi Purusha's program, which is a completely different type of preaching method, and yet they're bonded to do the same thing together. How you doing? Sorry, interrupted by dogs. So I really think that that was a very important point that, Sabari Muni separated himself from the devotees, thought he could go it alone. And as someone myself who's out on the edge, a lot of times you have Maya whispering in your ear, you don't need to go, you don't need to tune into class today. You don't need to go see the devotees when you actually have a chance to go see the devotees, because after all, you can do it on your own. And we just do not realize the power of Maya, the tricks that she has in slowly pulling us away, as in the cows with the grass and with the fire and the cowherd boys. So once again, thank you for getting to the essence immediately in the class, which is that bond of love, the bond of cooperation amongst devotees. Hare Krishna.
Andrea, your hand was up. Would you like to say something?
Hare Krishna, Karuna, Nimai Prabhu. Yes, thank you. I was actually asking for the information that you just put in the chat about the swan and what each of the letters meant. And I actually do still have a follow-up on that in terms of like, can you elaborate a little bit more on how one can use that acronym in our personal use to help us? Thank you.
Yeah. So this is something which we can use in order to understand ourselves better. We all are unique. We all have unique strengths. We all have unique weaknesses. We all have unique ambitions or desires. And we have our unique needs also in bhakti. So if we are the better equipped or placed as a sadhaka we are, if we are aware of those things. For example, I had a friend who really loved, when he was coming into the process of bhakti, a specific kind of meat. And whenever he would go near that area, he would like, hey, I'm practicing this spiritual life, but I just feel very much drawn that I want to eat this. So he was aware that. Okay, sorry. So basically, he was very much aware of his weakness. So he said, and he was also aware of his strength. He said, whenever devotees are there with me, I just feel that I can just reveal my heart, and somehow when I reveal my heart, I'm fine. So he understood that the strength he had was association. The weakness he had was the temptation. Now the ambition, so he went on to become a big software engineer. So that was his ambition. And he had like 3 different jobs lined up. And he wanted to decide that this ambition was there. So ambitions are basically kind of like our needs, but they're on the periphery. The needs which I'm talking about actually what we need to grow in Krishna consciousness. So we have to be on the lookout that whenever we are fulfilling the periphery desires or needs, we are not stepping upon our core needs. So my friend, when he was going and he wanted to decide which job he should take, his point was, how can I balance my life in a way so that not only I contribute by working outside, working in the society, contributing in the society as a citizen, but also at the same time contribute towards my spiritual life. I don't work too hard that I go in the morning at 8 and I come back 11 in the night and then I just sleep and I again do the same thing and 7 days a week. So he had even that kind of offer as well. So we should always analyze that what is my strength? What is my weakness? What is my ambition? And what are my needs? And ambition and needs is something which we should always be aware of. And they will be different for different people. So that's something which I wanted to say. And if we use this SWAN principle, and also if we are able to always stay in the association of devotees, keep in check that we are not that great. If you think that we are very great people, we think that I'm also like any other person here who is blessed by Krishna in different ways. And then we stick to devotees. We understand, we appreciate that love of devotees towards Krishna that is binding us as a community. We seek shelter of Krishna whenever we need. We recharge our batteries by hearing from Guru, by hearing from scriptures. If we do all these things properly, then what will happen? We would be able to always stay happy. We will always be in that Bhandira one zone, that Krishna will make sure that we are satisfied in what we are practicing. So that is very important, and it will also help us stay motivated, which sometimes devotees feel that well, I know it all. I've read all the books. I have done this. I've done that. I've been here around for. I've seen it all basically. I've also seen the anarthas of people, like ups and downs and everything. I've seen it all. So, and then nothing is motivating me. So, if we can analyze our swan thing and if we stick to that simple principles, we will always stay motivated. And yes, another extra point which I added, and that's like summary of my whole discussion here, that understanding that I am not the one who is extraordinary. Krishna is extraordinary. Like how Srila Prabhupada, this is so inspiring to me. So many times Srila Prabhupada said, and when he was looking at his disciples, that you all have been sent to me by my guru, by my spiritual master. You all are my spiritual master. Now this is a man who materially, just forget about spiritual stuff, materially like achieved so much at such an advanced stage. He is basically saying he's keeping his ego aside, and he's actually in the higher position. He's the guru, and there are disciples. But he's basically saying that you all are my spiritual master. I'm here to serve you all. And even his guru would always say, whenever someone would come and see him, Dasosmi, means I'm your servant. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would say, I'm your servant. So this is very, very important. This mood of the servant of the servant of the servant is very important. I just packaged in a different way, but I'm just saying the same thing. So sorry if I cut anyone off. Anyone would like to say anything? Adi Purush will say something.
Okay, Hare Krishna, wonderful class. Very interesting drama. The story, how there was danger, and they took shelter of Krishna. Sometimes there was danger, people will turn to intoxication or turn to some material attempt to solve the difficulty. But they took shelter of a person. We're not taking shelter of a list of rules or a building or an institution. We're taking shelter of a person. That's like a very interesting choice that we have. And we were reading earlier in the story that the fire wasn't just a fire. It was set deliberately by someone who was inimical, antagonistic to people trying to serve God. And so we always have this these two voices. There's the voice, there's the demoniac influence telling us fear, doubt, hesitation to serve Krishna, make some material arrangement, right? Rather than surrendering our time and our energy and our effort to pushing on the word of God and encouraging other people in devotional service, or wholeheartedly giving ourselves to the service of God, that something else will give us protection and shelter. So there's one voice that says, hesitate, fear, doubt. And there's another voice that says, Ma Suja. Do not fear. Do not fear. Surrender to the Lord. Serve God. And everything else will be there. We put one foot on the boat and one foot on the dock. When the boat starts moving, it becomes very awkward. So we're encouraging, Srila Prabhupada is encouraging us, throw yourself into the service of God with everything you've got. Because anybody can purchase Krishna, but it's going to cost you everything you've got. Right? So we pray like that Krishna will, I want to turn my life over to you. Show me the things that I'm holding back. Everything I have is what you've given me. It's meant to be used in your service. Let me have the courage and the faith and not listen to that doubting voice that says, don't do it. Right?
So one thing which I remembered when I was hearing Adi Purush Prabhu, Mashucha. If you see, the first thing which Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, do not fear or do not lament. And one of the last things he says in the Bhagavad Gita is again the same thing. Do not lament, do not fear. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And yes, in the forest fire, if you put liquor and other things like intoxication, the fire will actually grow more and consume everything. So you should stay away from all that. So it is 7:57. Anyone else here who has joined us online would like to comment, say something.
Krishna Daya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Karuna, Nimai, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Very nice class. Thank you so much. Just the last point I was pondering over. Even the Gopa boys also felt they are also demigods, and Krishna is one of the demigod. They bring extraordinary to ordinary. So this sort of taking Krishna as one's own, we can see like Yashodamaya also thinks Krishna is my child. I should offer protection. And somebody feels like Brahma, oh, Krishna is all supreme. So these two things we can map to our own life. We take care of Lord very nicely, or we think Lord is very great. But sometimes in ignorance, many people like we think Lord is what's so great about Lord. So the thing I want to, can you please elaborate on this? Like the thought process of, hey, Lord is also like that, like us only. So that is some negative thing. But here Gopa boys are also thinking Lord is also like us only, but I think they're on a different platform. So can you please elaborate on that?
Thank you, Krishna Daya Prabhu, for seeking clarification. You already answered the question, but just to, in my mood of trying to serve you, I'll just, you paraphrase what you just said. So as you said, that we are here and we have this nature of taking extraordinary to ordinary and ordinary to extraordinary. So we have to see, as I said in the beginning of my presentation, that I'm seeing everything from the viewpoint of a sadhaka. We are in Vrindavan Leela here, and we are discussing the sweet pastimes of Krishna. And that's why I didn't even go towards Radharani and the gopis and the separation they're feeling. Like that's the last shloka. And I didn't even go there because I feel I'm not qualified enough to speak on those things. But we are in the Vrindavan Leela, and Shukdev Goswami, who's a Paramhans Mahabhagavat, after he's basically giving the essence of it. He's talking about pure devotees and their interactions. But what we are discussing here is, how can I become a pure devotee? How can we advance on this path? So we have a different perspective of looking on things. We also have to understand that while we go under Mahamaya, pure devotees of the Lord, they go under Yogamaya. So that's why, because of Yogamaya only, they are thinking. So they are pure devotees. They are actually, I made that parallel, that they are Gopas and they are thinking that they are demigods. So they are thinking from ordinary, they are becoming extraordinary. But in truth, the Gopas are all expansions of Krishna or Balaram. So they are actually also degrading themselves. And then they are thinking that, oh, we all are demigods here. But they are doing that out of love for Krishna. When we say we don't have that love, again, that greatness, that ego is there in us. Oh, I have that connection with Krishna. And then I want to tell everyone about that connection with Krishna. That Krishna spoke this to me, or Krishna came in my dream, or this and that, I got this realization. It's when it is for us, then it is for us. But when we are using it to show off, to impress other people, then it is basically our ego speaking. Its ego is mixed there. So I'm just separating that. What I said is more from the point of view of a sadhaka. But what actually is happening in the story is that they are really in love with Krishna. Even they can see everything happening. They just still can't fathom that their friend, the boy next door, is basically the supreme personality of Godhead. They just don't have it in them. So there are two different platforms. Unless any one of you feel that you are on that platform, then you can think and you can read the way it's being given. But for myself and so many of my friends, the platform of looking from the point of view of a sadhaka is important. And that's why I went in that direction. But they are two different things. So again, the Vedic scriptures are so great that the same thing can mean so many different things depending on from what perspective you're looking at that. It has so much truth. I think it's 8:02. So it's time for me to open the altar. So I would just take leave from all of you. Thank you so much. It was very wonderful speaking on the forest fire again in a week. So Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Karuna Nimai Prabhu ki jai. See, Karuna Nimai Prabhu went 2 minutes over time. He sacrificed his reputation as a pujari just to glorify Krishna and serve Krishna Daya. serve the devotees. See, this is a Vaishnava. So much more than a demigod, a Vaishnava. We thought he was a demigod, but he's a Vaishnava. So much more. Okay. So time to turn your cameras on if you can. Keshvar, or yeah. Please put us on the altar. I mean, on the donation box. Cameras on, please. Amrita Kishori, gentle.
I think we lost them.
Yeah, I think we did. But we see Amrita Kishori's cat. The cat is in ecstasy. All right, look at him. I see Krishna
I can show
Daya
you
is
my
in
deity.
ecstasy. And
Let me see if I can show you my deities.
yes, Andrea. Yes.
So, it's blurry. Oh, they're waiting for me to unblur it for dramatic effect. 1 second. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
This is
Wow.
Shri Pai Gaurasundar. Oh, and there's
Jai.
our Radha Mulidar in the back. And then here's Baby Damodar.
What's that? A kumquat? What's he holding?
Oh, he's got I think it's a sweet.
A sweet. Okay. Nishingadev. So
Yes.
kind. Pacified Nishingadev.
And then
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
looks like maybe Adipurusha is going to give us darshan.
Adi Purusha Prabhu, please. Shaky darshan from Adi.
Feel satisfied.
Thank you, Adi Purusha Prabhu. Thanks everyone. Hemangi, Amrita Kishori Didi. What's your cat's name? I forget.
This one is Sophie.
Sophie. That means wisdom, right? Sophia.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
And the other one's Benedict.
Wow. Lesson. Nice. Great. Okay. It was a nice class. Thank you very much for participating actively, for bringing your family to the screen, letting them get benefit. Jai. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Stick to the devotees. Stick to the process. We need one another. We can't do that alone. Stick to Bhima Prabhu and his horses. We'll all get there. Okay. Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hari Hari Bol.